So we're ticking along, and when I was pregnant, I carried very high. My obstetrician refused to accept that as terminology, but basically I had baby up here, and so that meant I kept my belly button till like almost the end of the pregnancy. And you see people that lose their belly button, and it was like my hill to die on, literally. I wanted to know where my belly button was at all times, because it seemed to me unreasonable that it would go away. I mean, you have a belly button your whole life, and then you're inhabited by this thing, and it leaves briefly, right? And for some reason, that was very troublesome for me. So I wrote a poem about it. And because poets are always accused of being navel-gazing, this literally is my navel-gazing poem. It's called 7 Months the Navel Gaze. My belly button is a fairy ring, just about to turn into wet clippings and mulch. A drain, grout half gone, that sucks and gurgles as the basin empties. My belly button is a muddy worm run just before it rains, and the whole thing sinks in on itself. The perforated flank made whole by too much. Too much. My belly button was a dime store notion, punctuation between gastro and intestinal, uro and genital. My belly button intact is the last gasp of before. When a slowing metabolism and slouch economics, what called loudest from the cupboard, were the roundest of my concerns. My belly button has become a third eye, winking from beneath shirts riding up and pants slung low. My belly button is my keeled over canary, my abandoned mine shaft, while you sputter, turn over several times daily, like any old engine. Now, I'm an eldest of 5. My dad was busy. So eldest of 5, and I liked always those myths about the princesses that disappear and go dancing, and they always send an old soldier after them to discover where they've gone, where they disappear to at night, and how they are so sleepy in the morning and have fucked up their shoes. And they always, in the myth, as a prize for discovering where the many daughters have gone, they either get the youngest or the oldest. And as an eldest, I was very offended by that. A, that they might get the youngest, and that might be the best prize, and B, that they would have the temerity to give away the eldest at all without asking. But anyways, so this is my poem, 8 months, the eldest after. You turn changeling even before you are born, tugging me into midnight lands where I wear out slippers, two-stepping down the hall in the dark of this body to empty a bladder hardly big enough for a princess's pee. When I return to bed, touching the mounds of mattress, pillows, and limbs, my careful buttressing of your burrow in me, our old soldier wakes, the night closing at my heels, and opens the hoary hill of his arms, opens them wide. All right. So I am now skipping birth entirely, because who wants to relive that, really? And I am going to read you a poem that elicited the worst story I have ever heard. And because I now have the microphone, I will share the worst story in the world with you. So I was launching this book in Calgary. I did my reading. And afterwards, there was a woman that came over, and she said, "Oh, I have a story I have to tell you." And it's based, I guess the starting point for her was, in this poem, there's breastfeeding a little bit of blood. And she goes, oh, I have a story for you. And I said, oh, what is it? She goes, well, I was talking with my friend who had a baby and was breastfeeding, and all of a sudden I went, look, you're bleeding. And the friend went, what? Pulled the baby away from the breast, discovered the baby was choking a little bit, and yes, she was bleeding. They subsequently realized the baby had gnawed off a third of her nipple. What really gets me with that story is that the woman didn't notice until her friend pointed it out. Oh, P.S., your child is ingesting part of your body. So when she finished the story, I said, thank you for coming. And now I have a story I can tell till I die. So the poem is called Chorus. And I'm not sure the state of your trees here in West Grey, East Grey? West Grey. But we have in Winnipeg, which is a prairie city, we have this lovely elm canopy that was planted by one city councillor 100 years ago. So we have these enormous trees, and they kind of overarch over almost all of our streets, good neighborhoods, bad neighborhoods. And they're starting to die, and so it's a great concern to Winnipeggers. But this poem is about the canopy to a certain extent, and also breasts and blood. So keep that in your mind. Chorus. You squawk, the angry hunger of the first notes, twigging the crow in the tree outside, palpitating the loft of the elm canopy. And the crow, having stayed through the hot night, the murderous morning, squawks back. Both of you outraged at the drops that run down your chin, down the side of my heavy tit. You squawk, a plucked thing on a spit. Outside the window, the city smells of burnt feathers and dust. And when I take you away from the breast, blood wringing your beaky little mouth, the chorus only crows louder. You squawk like some one-eyed god you can't see beyond my face. The shadows in the fall of my hair, your night, your canopy. And I wonder what the crow has told you of the day. Finally, mouth full, you open an eye, scan the room, and suck until you fall away from me, dreaming of a giant tit streaming. The crow dreams the same, only ripe and dead.